When starting your Airbnb business, you are going to have to determine what type of Airbnb are you? Are you more of a Ritz-Carlton or are you more of a Holiday Inn? That is going to determine what your clientele is, how much you're going to have to spend to invest in your property, and the type of money you're going to make based on your area. Now, this is not a decision solely based on what you want to do, but it's also based on the market that you're in. I'm Frank, and I'm in the DC area, and I am the #1 Airbnb host here in the DC area. I have 10 Airbnbs, majority of which are high-end properties. I like to focus on larger homes, 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, 7 bedroom houses, and I feel like I make more money than that. And I don't only feel like that, but I've done the research, and I'm telling you, you make more money in my area if you have a bigger home that is also high quality. But how did I get there? Do I come for money? Is this something that anybody can achieve? Well, I'm going to let you know. First off, I started off with a studio apartment when I first started off. I didn't have that money. I just graduated from college and I wanted to start my own Airbnb, but I didn't have enough money to buy a property. So I wanted to find other ways that I can actually, gain these properties and be able to scale much quicker. So I decided to do the Airbnb arbitrage route. Airbnb arbitrage basically means that you are leasing a property. You're leasing it from an owner, and with their permission, you're utilizing that property for Airbnb. Now, I would not advise you go behind the back of an owner or a landlord or anything like that, because if you're trying to build a real business, it needs to be legal. Legal when it comes to your taxes, legal when it comes to your licenses. You want to do things on the up and up, and there is a way to do it and be successful on it. That's why you're on my channel. I'm talking all about how to scale your own business and be financially free. That's the key thing here. I love to travel. We do what we want, and that's the whole point of this. But going back to what kind of Airbnb you should start should be based on 2 things: the market that you're in and what you truly feel comfortable for. Me, I have an eye for interior decorating, and I'm in an area that rewards me for that interior decorating, meaning if I spend more money on higher quality furniture and a good design, the type of people who are used to spending more money on higher quality furniture and a great design is going to pay me more for my services than if I was to just try to cheapen things and stick with a regular plain Jane apartment or a house. Now, going from an apartment to scaling up to a house, that's a process. How did I go from a small apartment to now doing these bigger Airbnbs like I have now? Well, after I made money from my first apartment, I took that profit and I put it into another apartment. And from there, after a year and a half to 2 years in business, I was actually able to get a business loan. I got a $50,000 business loan from the SBA. And essentially at 7.5%, I had to pay that back over the course of 6 years. That's $863 a month. It's approximately what my payment is. And that gives me enough money to be able to scale. And for $50,000, you can have an additional 2 or 3 properties in my area that's considered a good quality property that's going to make you significant money. Now, let's first start off by showing you my second property that I had, which is the smallest apartment that I ever had. And I'm going to show you in comparison to my top property and run over the expenses for these properties versus what kind of profits you might be able to expect. Well, here's property number 1, cozy apartment 2 miles from the Pentagon, plus electric fireplace. Let's look at the pictures real quick. It's an open concept studio apartment. We painted it blue because there was a dark color in there. We have a couch that was able to adjust to be a bed as well, so we can actually sleep 3 people. We have a kitchenette, not a real kitchen. We have our fridge. We have our TV. And of course, we have our bathrooms, silverware. And let's get to the bed. Where's that bed? It might have been in my first pictures. Boom. And a queen size bed. Now, this property right here, it cost me $1,075 a month for rent. Now, why is the rent so cheap? Well, this is about 3 years ago. That factors one. And it's only about 350 square feet. So it's a really small apartment, but it was in the middle of the city. It gave me the ability to target not only business employees, but also people who were also just small families, 2 parents plus a kid who were just looking to be in town for 3-4 days, who didn't need a washer and dryer, who didn't need a full kitchen. And it was working. Now, a property like that, you're going to do $1,075 for your rent. You're going to do about another $150 for utilities, maybe another $50 for your Wi-Fi. So all in, you're talking about around $1,300 was my monthly expenses, even if I include things like insurance, which I did have. Now, on that, I was able to make about an average of $400 to $500 a month in profit, right? So if I'm spending $1,300 a month in rent, and I did furnish the place, which costs about $2,000 to furnish, right? I'm looking at a profit of $400 to $500, which is pretty good. It's nothing to sneeze at. And at that time, I had a full-time job. So bringing in an extra $400 to $500, within 6 months, I not only paid myself back, but I had enough money to put it into a second property. You see how we scale here over time. Now, why do I choose to go for these bigger houses that require more money? First, you need to know how much I spent on these bigger houses and what is the profit potential. Let me show you my new current property and the biggest property that I have so far. This property is a 7-bedroom, 11 beds, 5-bath property. Now, this property sits 16 people, right? We're able to sleep 16 people. It has a dining table that has seats for 17. Large kitchen, marble. This is high-end everything. We have a movie theater, and we put this in ourselves, and we are renting this property, by the way. We put the grass wall. This has a 2-car garage, and your driveway can take 4 cars. High-end furniture everywhere. We put wallpaper on here. We made it themed. It's 6,500 square feet. It's really large in size, has high-end furnishings, great lighting. This is the pinnacle of properties when it comes here in the DC area. And I am renting this home, and I furnished this home, and it is making a great return. This property is doing $8,500 a month in rent. My utility is going to be about $500 a month. My insurance is about $300 a month. So all in, I'm about $9,300 is my expenses on a monthly basis, right? Now, if you want to add things like, drinks, water, essentials, we can call it $9,400. But how much can I actually make for a property like this? A property like this, I can actually do $1,700 on the weekdays, on the weekends. Per night, I can do $750 on the weekdays per night. So if I'm doing $9,500 in rent, the profits for a property like this is going to be anywhere from $7,000 to $9,000, meaning that my overall revenue is anywhere from $16,000 to $19,000. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I've done these numbers before. I used to have a mansion within the same city. That is the power of having one of these large houses, is that you're able to make more return. And the biggest factor that most people don't think about is the fact that in order to make the same returns with apartments, you're going to have, what are we talking? If it's 400, you're going to have 20 apartments that are studios to make the same return as this one house. Think about that. That's 20 separate guests that you have to keep up with, 20 separate personalities, 20 separate properties when it comes to its utilities, the essentials, issues that can happen with that house, with those apartments. versus dealing with one house that likely has one problem for property management, has less issues with guests because this is higher end property. So you're going to have better quality guests who are going to bring less issues to your home. It's a no-brainer to me. It's an absolute no-brainer. That's why when you get into this type of market, if you're able to afford this market, meaning scaling over time, you're going to see that you can make a huge return on bigger houses with less liability, which I know people think it's more because it's like, Frank, what if you don't make rent? You have to pay over $100,000 in a year in rent. Yes, that's true. But in some ways, it's actually less liable because I know I'm going to make my money back based on weekends alone. Those weekends rates is enough to where if I'm booked 7 or 8 days out of the weekend, then I'm going to make enough money to pay for my expenses. That's how crazy these things are, right? So I'm not worried too much about my expenses. What I would be worried about is the property management and the amount of maintenance it is to take care of 20 apartment buildings, the amount of energy it is to have to communicate with 20 different guests that are in your apartments, the stress that you're going to have in your head of all these potential issues that can happen if you have 20 properties. I don't want 20 doors. Give me one door that does $8,000 to $10,000 a month in profit, and I'm good. This is Coach BNB. Please follow this page because I'm going to post a lot more content like this. And send me a message, DM me on Coach BNB. That's Coach BNB on TikTok, Coach BNB on Instagram. I do coaching as well. And I also have a video course to help you start your own business. If you're ready to start, follow this page and I'll see you guys soon.